Let's get into it. Sold Not For Sale podcast. Coach Colin here. We got Joe Rogan and his guest talking a little bit about race relations, picking yourself up by your bootstraps, and when the racial climate really hit an odd peak, which was in 2012. Right as Barack Obama hit the scene. Now, Joe Rogan's guest is going to try and push the whole thing of, I blame Obama. And you know what? If you really step back and look, you'll see that he was not the great uniter that so many people on the left think of him to be. He was actually the great divider. He really focused on dividing people because it had a political incentive for him and the Democrats. So we're going to be talking about that in that clip, and then we're going to move on to Barack Obama because he's still at it, ladies and gentlemen. Recently, he was scolding a group of black men into voting for Kamala Harris, and if they didn't want to do it, they're sexist. It's a wild clip. I'm going to show you that, but then I'm going to show you the bright side, which is young black men waking up to this whole thing like I knew they would, like I have myself. Let's get into it with the Joe Rogan clip first.
Push a chair next to the kitchen counter to climb up and make your own food. They had a philosophy that was, if the kid can do it, the kid should do it, as opposed to now it's like I think there's just these over-involved parents that are like, oh, I want to take care of you, and so the kids end up getting coddled. Somehow, for whatever reason, in Europe, those core values of self-reliance. It gets when I interviewed like the progressive homeless service providers in the United States, they were in San Francisco and other places. They would say things like, "Oh, that's the whole by your bootstraps philosophy, which is just so oppressive." It's like, no, actually, it's completely liberating to be told that you have the power to do these things. I mean, that's basically what Tony Robbins is telling people all the time, right? Is that you have the inner resources, the inner power.
Sure.
So that's got to be. I don't know how we restore it. I mean, there's. The fear, of course, is that once that stuff's gone, it's gone.
Well, the fear is that once you tell the person it's not their fault, that their whole life is because somebody else did them wrong.
Absolutely.
Or that there's some injustice in the system, some systematic oppression that's keeping them from succeeding. But the reality also is that some people are born in terrible circumstances. And and then there's no beginning, finish, there's no starting line that's the same.
But this thing where like, after the George Floyd, where it's like the Obamas are and affluent, black families are saying, oh yeah, I'm worried about my kids. Like, what are you telling your kids? That they're going to be victims of the society, that police are all racists? I mean, these messages are constantly being told to people that the system, that basically the broader society is essentially unfair, as opposed to telling them that really the playing field is more level than it's ever been.
And the crazy thing is, up until about 2012, that's what we thought.
I blame Obama.
People that don't, a lot of people do, but because there's a sort of a political incentive to communicate that way, and to promote this idea that it's everybody's fault, and everybody goes, oh, and then you get white guilt involved, like it's not my fault, I'm an ally, and then they jump in, and next people are looking for racism everywhere, like racist Columbos. It's weird. It's weird how it shifted, because when I was a kid, racism was bad, period. No one cared. It got to this weird point somewhere around 2012 where it was everywhere in society, and you had to encounter unconscious bias and unconscious racism training in the workplace. So then you get these grifters who their only job is to tell you that everything is racist, and their only job is to berate you and scare you into you have to give in to whatever their demands are in terms of the numbers of employees that have to be X, Y, or Z, and they develop these like very rigid rules that you have to follow. Now they're in control. No, they're controlling what you're allowed to say, the way you're allowed to discuss things. If someone says anything about a person that is of a particular group, that becomes either homophobic or transphobic or racist, or you're not taking into account all these other factors that led that person to be, it's not equitable. There's all this nonsense talk that's used by grifters.
Oh, because it's a cult.
But it didn't exist. This is what people need to understand. That was all dismissed when I was a kid. By 2012, by around that time, that was not a thing. In 2001, that was not a thing. This thing calling racism, there was always racism. There's always people that were saying there was racism in the workplace, and I'm sure it's true because some people suck. But it wasn't this overall message that society is inherently racist.
I mean, think about how Obama was raised by his white mom. By a single mom, and his grandparents were there. She didn't teach him that he was a victim. that he was helpless against society.
Well, he literally became the president of the United States, the most difficult job to get on earth.
I mean, it's the
greatest American success story you can imagine.
I mean, here he's like reelected in 2012. Like this stuff is starting, Black Lives Matter starts in, I think was it 2015 or was it 2013? I can't remember. But he sees all that stuff happening. There's literally nobody on the planet more capable of pushing back against all that bad wokeism than Barack Obama. Barack Hussein Obama is so well positioned to do it. He doesn't do it. And I think part of it is that it worked for Democrats.
Yes, it works. That is the problem.
It works politically for them.
Yeah.
And that's actually a tragedy, especially for young black men in this country, to be teaching this idea that he does once in a while, he'll say something about it. But I mean, the whole Black Lives Matter movement, which was, just a tragedy, where the grotesque exaggeration of police killings of unarmed black men, he was in a position to push back against that. And they didn't do it. And he hasn't done it since he left office. So that's why I say I blame him just because of what he hasn't done.
Because there have been grotesque uses of police brutality on black people, and we all know it.
Sure.
The problem is, if you say that it's not as big of a problem, we have very specific instances where it was a problem. So it's like, I don't think
But the problem declined. I mean, we looked at FBI data from the 70s.
The problem is bad cops.
It declined, but it declined so much from the 70s until now.
Right, sure, but it doesn't mean that it's not still a giant issue if you're a black man and you encounter cops and you're terrified.
I mean, it's about 1 or 2 dozen a year.
That's still a lot of people that died that didn't have to die if the police weren't incompetent or if they weren't racist or if they weren't up on PTSD, because a lot of them are.
But if you calculate the number of the increase of the number of black people killed because the police pulled back in reaction to Black Lives Matter, what we call the Ferguson effect,
right?
Where you out there demonizing and
that's not the correct response.
No, and so the cops pull back. And so you get more black deaths. I mean,
you get cops that are terrified to police. Yeah. You get cops that are demonized. You get terrible morale. You get a lot of really bad things. And then you get a wake-up call a few years later where people are like, we need to refund the police. And that's what happened in Minnesota. And it's happened in a lot of places where people are up in arms. Like, our communities are more f***ed up now than they've ever been before. This didn't help anybody. And you didn't even fill the void. It's not like you defunded the police but figured out some new strategy that's more effective and implemented that. No. You just created this bizarre environment where you allow people to steal. If you make a law that allow people to steal up to $950 worth of shit, they're just going to steal $950 worth of shit every chance they get. And then you're going to see all these businesses closing down, like in San Francisco. Chamath was on the podcast recently, and he thinks that San Francisco is going to experience a rebirth because of AI. And his perspective is that the super nerds are like more in charge of San Francisco now. And so these sort of mid-level grifters who are into virtue signaling, which is like how you got ahead in a lot of these businesses where you're not really exceptional as a person, but you fit a good quota and you're kind of a DEI hire. Next thing you know, the CEO of a big company. And it's nuts, and it happens. And he said that's not going to happen anymore.
Of course, the people who made Nazis black and Asian in Google Gemini, those people are going to fix everything in California. Hey, same people who worked with the intelligence agencies who were a part of Twitter, they're going to fix everything. Yeah. Hey, listen, the same people in OpenAI, this can go on and on. The same people in OpenAI who made sure that ChatGPT would not make a positive poem about Donald Trump, but would make one about Joe Biden. They're going to fix everything. I believe it. Let's move on, though. That's not going to happen. Those guys are so taken by that ideology. They grow up in it. That's the thing about it. They grow up in it. They go to these schools. It's ingrained in them, So I doubt that they're all of a sudden going to be like, we got to do things a little more conservative. I highly doubt it. Highly doubt it. Go check out some images. Google Gemini, what they were putting out. Can you show me what white people in Ireland look like? They just show you a black guy that looks like me, and he's just like this, with a kilt on. What? No, Google Gemini. This is not what I meant. Google Gemini is like, I just don't want to offend anyone, bro. Nah, man, I don't believe it. Anyway, let's get on to this video. Barack Obama thinking that he can scold a bunch of black men into voting for Kamala Harris. It's wonderful. So everything that Michael Schellenberger said, if you notice, Joe's trying to dodge it. He keeps bringing up 2012, so he understands that it happened around 2012. Schellenberger's bringing up 2012 like, yeah, Barack Obama. Like, that's what happened. And if you look, go back and look, there was really nothing else happening that sparked it other than him. It was the first time where if you were like, I don't like Barack Obama, you're racist. And then all of a sudden, next time around, if you like Donald Trump, you're racist. It seemed like the Democrats started using that, and I'm sure they did it before this, but they started using that as a thing. If you don't like our guy, it's because you're not a good person. You're a deplorable person. And you're not thinking about being with the deplorables. And then the same thing happened when a white guy ran, Donald Trump. They were like, if you go along with that guy, and not a woman, you don't want to make history? This all started with Barack Obama. And the thing was, it's not just him as a presidential candidate, but also he was using it. Because you know what? Right before I show you this clip, I'm going to show you this clip of Newt Gingrich talking about Barack Obama. This sums it up perfectly, but I got some more after this.
President Obama's relentless failure in 7.5 years in the area of race relations is in some ways the saddest part of his administration. He could have been a beacon of hope. He could have reached out to every young African American and said, look, I'm proof you can make it in America. He could have been a person who brought us together, and instead, as he did once again today, he is endlessly on the left wing. He is endlessly divisive. He has made race relations in America worse, and it is truly sad.
He could have done more for race relations than Martin Luther King. Easily. He could have been president and been like, this is it, guys. This is what Martin Luther King was talking about. Now we need to come together as a nation. We did it as for the vote. You guys voted for me. We need to come together. We need to stop all this race stuff. But that's what got him his next 4 years. Or no, 2016. No, sorry. Yeah. So that's what kept him going. That's what kept him popular. And honestly, past him being president, that's what made him millions of dollars as he goes into his movie. But that's for another clip. We're going to have Tucker Carlson talk about that. Let's get into this.
I'm going to go ahead and just speak some truths, if you don't mind. We have not yet seen the same kinds of energy and turnout as we saw when I was running. That seems to be more pronounced with the brothers. So if you don't mind, just for a second, I'm going to speak to y'all directly. When you have a choice that is this clear, on the one hand, you have somebody who grew up like you, knows you, went to college with you, understands the struggles, pain, and joy that comes from those experiences, who's had to work harder and do more, overcome, and achieves the second highest office in the land, putting forward concrete proposals to directly address the things that are vital in our neighborhoods and our communities, from housing, cares about things like education. And you're thinking about sitting out? And you're coming up with all kinds of reasons and excuses. I've got a problem with that, because part of it makes me think, and I'm speaking to men directly, part of it makes me think that, well, you just aren't feeling the idea of having a woman as president. And you're coming up with other alternatives and other reasons for that. The women in our lives have been getting our backs this entire time. They've been raising us and working and having our backs. When we get in trouble, the system's not working for us. They're the ones who are out there marching and protesting, and you're thinking about sitting out or even supporting somebody who has a history of denigrating you because you think that's a sign of strength, because that's what being a man is, putting women down. That's not acceptable. That's not. This shouldn't even be a question.
How dare all of you in here question me? How dare you guys? I'm the one that's half white here. I'm in charge. I don't know what his mentality is in this room. Listen, I didn't even grow up in a black neighborhood. Okay, I did not grow up like that. I grew up poor, very poor, like didn't have much, eating corned beef and stuff, but I still wouldn't have the gall to get into this room and be like, listen, brothers. First of all, him saying brothers, like that's like me saying brother. Like we don't say listen, Barack, we don't talk like that. We don't say brothers. We say brothers. We do. We put the hard R on brothers. Yeah, it's okay. Y'all. You don't say y'all. Okay? Come on. You know how it is when you sound white, Barack. Stop playing around. This is ridiculous. Actually, and these black men are actually like, Why are they listening to Barack Obama? Let me tell you something about Barack Obama. Barack Obama, Al Sharpton, Jesse Jackson, they are these dudes who are in these ivory towers that you see constantly getting better and better positions in life. And they keep looking down at black people saying, oh man, all this oppression, y'all. It's like, aren't you a multi-millionaire? Oh man, all this oppression, you guys. Is it rough down there? I know it is. Oh man, this is what they do to y'all. And no black person ever says, hey, why aren't you picking us up? Like, even just with your words. They just like, oh man, I'm sorry. I got to go to MSNBC. They pay me millions of dollars to talk down to you guys. I got to go. Chopper. He has a helicopter? Yep. That's how it goes, man. This guy has Secret Service for his entire life, gets paid for his entire life, went into the office worth $1 million, left worth 8 figures. Are you kidding me? This is ridiculous. Like, what? JD Vance has a harder upbringing story than Barack Obama. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. There's going to be some people that don't like that. It's true. JD Vance has been coming out the mud more so than Barack Obama. Let's move on. Tucker Carlson has a thing or two to say about this whole thing. It sums it up, what he says in this first part of the video, and then I'm going to show you all the black men that have woke up to this nonsense. Let's go.
Barack Obama's been out of office kind of a long time now, and because we don't see him every day, it's become really obvious to a lot of people that the whole Obama thing was based on race hatred, anti-white hatred. That's how he got elected, from white guilt and anger at white people. And that's how he maintained power. And he stoked it, of course. A lot of people didn't see this coming. Obama seemed like the kind of person who could bring the country together, our first half-white president. He could probably see both sides of the race question. But no, he saw only one side, and it's hate-based. And so it shouldn't surprise you that now that he's a Netflix producer, along with his hate-addled wife, Michelle, he's producing more racial division in the form of scripted dramas. The latest is called Leave the World Behind. It's a fictional thriller about the collapse of technology and what humans would do with no phones or computers. The movie follows a family on vacation at a rental house, and one night they're visited by a father and a daughter who show up seeking shelter. They say their phones no longer work and they need a place to stay. So immediately the white family, because they're evil, that's encoded in their DNA, of course, is suspicious of the visitors because they're black. And it goes on and on and on like this. Here's a clip.
I'm asking for...
I don't think I can show this clip of the movie. Honestly, I don't want to. Basically, she's just saying, you can't afford people trust in this situation, especially white people. That's how mom would want it.
Became famous at the Democratic Convention in 2004 by telling us there is no white America. There's no black America. It's just one America. But of course, that's not really a profit model in politics, is it? So he's been stoking race hatred ever since, and the disarray around us is the result. Very few people have made a study of this. How did this happen? But Scott McKay has. He's a contributing editor at the American Spectator, author.
I just wanted you guys to hear that first part there. Then they go into this whole thing where this guy actually breaks down. Again, if you follow me on X, everything that I show you that's on X, I will retweet and it will be there for you. So this guy basically breaks down the movie and shows that, like, in a situation like that, that's not what people would do. Race would fade away because everybody would just be pretty shaken on what's going on. And they wouldn't revert right to racism. That wouldn't be the first thing every single person would do. It wouldn't become white against black if we all There was a time where we didn't have phones and we didn't have computers and the internet. And actually, racism, super low. Super low. Still instances of it, but super low. And you know what was funny? When Michael Schellenberger was talking about how they conjured up this whole nationwide assault that was happening on black men via police brutality, you know, bringing those facts that he brought where it was 12 and Joe being like, that's still a lot. You know, if you remember back to the rhetoric that they were saying in the media, they were not saying 12. They were positioning it like it was happening every day, 10 times a day. And the only way for you to deal with it, if you were white, is for you to feel guilty and to completely disown the police force. And if you were black, you had to be upset at not just police, but also white people. It was wild the way they would split people up based on that whole thing. But again, like I said, people are waking up to what Barack Obama has to say, and they're pissed. Let's go.
Yo, so I'm CJ Pearson, one of the young black men that President Obama yesterday tried to lecture into supporting Kamala Harris just because she, quote, looks like me. Now, guys, I don't know about y'all, but I think that my ancestors fought far too hard for my right to vote in this country for me to support someone just because they look like me. Especially when that person who looks like me doesn't give a damn about me. Kamala Harris, throughout her entire political career, hasn't done a single thing for black people, black men, or anyone, actually, for that matter. She failed to secure the border. She hasn't created a single job. She is actually probably uniquely terrible at her job. Barack Obama, another person who didn't do a damn thing for black people when he was president, believes that black men should set aside our disagreements, set aside our grievances, and just take one for the team. Barack, we've been taking one for the team when it comes to supporting the Democratic Party for decades. And what do we have to show for it? Our inner cities are destroyed. Violent crime is up. We are living in poverty in too many communities across this country. That is the reality of progressive policies in this country and all across America. So no, Barack, I'm not going to support Kamala Harris because you said that is my duty as a young black man. No, I'm going to support Donald Trump, the president who actually delivered for black people, brought about the lowest black unemployment rate in our nation's history, the president who actually gave a damn about our community. That's not rocket science, Barack. It's common sense.
Oh, it doesn't stop there, people. What, you think he was the only one? No. Here's another one. Let's go.
Barack Hussein Obama. The audacity of you to say to us that we are required and we better vote for Kamala Harris and that we don't want to see a woman in a position of power. You're a liar. I remember in June of 2010, I was in Baghdad, Iraq, and I watched your State of the Union address as a proud young black man to see a black president on the television. But I listened to you as you told the American people that we would not spend any additional resources in Baghdad or in Afghanistan, and we're going to bring our troops home in December of 2014. Right then and there, I knew you couldn't be trusted. Why? Because I'm watching them build sidewalks, build streets, and construct buildings in Baghdad, Iraq in 2010, as you say we're going to leave in 2014. So now that you get on a stage or a platform and try to bully us and belittle us and try to make the world believe that we're not intelligent enough to see what you and the demonic Democratic Party is doing, you're the biggest problem to black people, not the Republican Party. Just because our policies differ or our views differ or our perspectives and values differ, now you want to attack? No, Barack, you're a liar and you're a part of the problem.
Oh, man, you love to hear it. Absolutely love to hear it. It's not over, though. We got Rob Smith right here breaking down exactly what we just saw, what we saw from Obama. I love how he breaks this down. Listen to this.
So Democrats decided to send out a biracial black man, Barack Obama, to lecture black American men to vote for a biracial black woman, Kamala Harris, whose chief campaign promise is to protect and expand abortion. Therefore, more black babies will be killed in America. I want you to listen to me again. Democrats and the left thought that it was a good idea to send a biracial black man, Barack Obama, his mother is white, his father is Kenyan, to lecture black American men who were born in this country to vote for a biracial black woman, Kamala Harris, whose father is Jamaican and mother is Indian, in order to fulfill her chief campaign promise. The only thing that she ever seems to be able to talk about is quote unquote protecting women's rights, which means protecting abortion rights and expanding abortion rights and whatever. And we all know that per capita, the largest amounts of babies that are aborted in America are black babies. So the left sent biracial man to lecture black American men to vote for biracial black woman whose chief campaign promise is to expand abortion so that more black babies are aborted in the United States of America. And they thought that was a good idea.
And you know what the thing is about that? And that was wonderful. That's the face all black men were making at Barack Obama as he gave that tired speech. But you know, it's funny what he's breaking down. You can see that on this is a very micro level that he's talking about this. On a macro level, it sums up what they've been doing. They've been putting people in front of you as black people, the black community, people who are not going to help you, people who might look like you, but class-wise are vastly different than you. And they're trying to act like they came up like you. They're trying to act like they have the same upbringing as you. And then when you put them into office, they don't do anything for you. And in fact, what they end up doing is worsening your situation. That's his whole presidency, Barack Obama. That's his whole presidency. Just saying. Kamala Harris as well, but Barack Obama. One more, just one. Why not? Come on.
Democrats then unleashed Barack Obama into the wild to shame us black men for not supporting Kamala Harris, despite the fact that she's yet to unveil any policies that represent our interests. Why is it okay that everybody gets to come out here and shame this one demographic of people for how we vote or how we question where our vote goes? But if it was a white politician shaming other white men for not voting based on identity politics, y'all will call him racist. Why is it okay for Barack Obama, Kamala Harris, and all these other people that supposedly look like me, why is it okay for them to get on TV and shame me for not voting for them simply because they look like me? That is racist, brother. I don't know how else to put it. That is racism. I don't have to vote for Kamala because she's quote unquote black. Just like I shouldn't have voted for your ass because you got up there, you tap dance for the establishment, and you ain't do a for the black people that put you in office. You, brother. Democrats then unleashed.
Why'd he put a hard R? He put a hard R on the brother at the end. I like. He didn't have to do that. He didn't have to do that. That was too much. But he's 100% right. Imagine Trump. Imagine Trump just being like, "Listen, we're all white here. We're all white here. Are you going to vote for a black person? Are you crazy? Are you crazy? I see a lot of white faces. Come on." Can you imagine? Oh my gosh. They would grab him. they would string him up. Oh my God. It would be crazy what they would do if that was the case. Everybody would lose their mind. Joe Scarborough would be calling for treason. He'd be screaming at the top of his lungs for someone to do something. Gavin Newsom would be looking for him himself. It would be crazy. Barack Obama would be getting his Batman costume on, looking to go find Donald Trump. It'd be insane what they would do to Donald Trump if he did that. We're all white here, and she's black. I thought she was Indian. Turns out she's black. Doesn't matter. Not white. I'm white. She's not. That's where the vote should go. Oh my gosh. She'd be the most racist person ever. That'd be it. That's what he would be branded as. It would be on the cover of Time magazine. Most racist man ever. That'd be it. But Barack Obama can do it no problem. And everybody in that room behind him I really don't like the guys behind him because I feel like those guys are right along with him. Those guys are looking to be in the Senate one day and Congress and stuff. So they're just right along with him, you know? Look at Barack Obama. He's looking at everybody like he's a disappointed father. It's so crazy. But that's just what I wanted to bring you guys about this whole thing. People aren't falling for what Barack Obama's doing in regards to race baiting. They're not falling for MSNBC. They're not falling for CNN. They're not falling for it anymore. And you can tell this is a last-ditch effort because if you look at this man's body language, this man usually has some on-point body language, but you can tell my guy is tired. Look at Barack. Look at Barack. You don't usually see Barack looking like this. My guy is tired. He's like, I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. He's like, what do I do? It's been 3 terms already. What do I do? What do you want from me, guys? You know? Anyways, guys, I just wanted to bring you this information. Like, subscribe, turn on the notification. Helps us tremendously. And other than that, I'm out.